Hello. Hello, everybody. Richard here. This will probably be somewhat of a rambly video, but I'll put in the title of the video, 42 core review with deductors mod and blah blah blah. Probably talk about the future of my channel. Before I get to the core review, I have a new laptop. I'm curious what it looks like from your end. I could just look myself, obviously, but I have a new laptop. It's possible that now I can record and the game won't crash as much. If the game is going to continue to crash while I'm recording, that probably suggests there's something wrong with Panzercore. But it would be nice if the game would stop crashing while recording. So I have a gaming laptop. I have the possibility of streaming. I think that this laptop has the capacity to handle streaming. But I guess it comes down to what would I get out of streaming? And the only thing I could think that I would get out of streaming is interactivity with my audience. But I don't know if my audience cares that much, and my audience is extremely small. And our schedules in all likelihood would never line up. So, and the fact is, people only have a finite amount of time in their day. I don't know why they would want to waste their time watching me at a fixed time for streaming. And there's another issue with streaming. So when I upload videos to YouTube, it severely affects our internet speed for everybody else. I am not a bachelor that lives alone. My wife and 2 children and another person live with us. So when I upload a video to YouTube, it just it's difficult to use the internet. And we also have an Xbox, and if they're often watching something on Netflix or other online services, so I think that affects the ability to upload the episodes appropriately. So I need to switch around when I'm uploading. So that's the other benefit of recording, is I can decide when to upload. Streaming, pretty much, if I were to stream, the internet shuts down in our house. And the funny thing about that is we have fiber optic internet, and we're on the highest internet plan. And I don't I have no idea what I can do to make the internet better. So that also makes me wary of streaming. It would be tempting to stream Ultimate Mode, or to stream me playing with Deductors mod. So this kind of is going to lead to another point. Bricata made an excellent video today. Really gave me a lot to think about. He's collecting data to figure out efficiency and effectiveness. And he's using his Ultimate Mode data. I don't know how he collected it so quickly. I should probably just ask him. But he somehow collected this relevant data very well. Or not, he collected it efficiently, so it wasn't a massive time sink. I am working on another data project that's trying to do something in the ballpark of what Bricata's doing. But I think it's not going to be as good. That might be a topic for another video. We'd be getting into econometrics, and I don't know if my audience cares about econometrics. But I saw that, and then I was thinking, well, I could completely redo the Grand Campaign with Deductors mod, which is what I was doing. I actually was redoing the campaign, and I got here with these units, and I wanted to review those. but I was wondering if I could redo the campaign, but have data to add to Bricada's data set, because I'm curious. I'm kind of curious if the results would be the same. I suspect that there might be some systematic differences. I think I have a distinct playstyle. It's a playstyle influenced by Deductor, by Bricada, by Goose, and by Soren, and it's not an optimized playstyle. I think if you're looking for an optimized playstyle, you go to Soren, but it's like it's a playstyle that's trying to take the best of everyone, because they all contribute tons of useful information, and then I could like explain why I'm doing certain things based on the theories they've developed. That's one reason I might live stream as well. I think if I was live streaming and I could see the chat log, I would be able, you could ask me a question about why I'm moving my units a certain way while I'm doing it, and then that could trigger me to just talk about the theory about why I'm doing this. And I kind of view myself as almost like the library of techniques and ideas from other players on how to play the game. But I don't think when I show you my Let's Plays, I don't think I explain why I'm doing things very well. I'm too focused on local stuff, where I do like standard commentary, and I don't think it's useful for my audience. I don't think it's adding value. The value I would be adding is the theoretical reasons why you should do these things, and how you could take macro level strategic concepts and apply them to particular battles. I think it's an area I could do better with, but it's so hard to do with recording, because you are by yourself talking to yourself, so you sound like a madman, and what you want to focus on is so biased that may not be what the audience wants you to focus on. Whereas if I was live streaming and I was going off on a tangent about why I'm doing something, and then someone asked me during the live stream, why is this particular strategic concept more important than this tactical idea? Then I could stop and go, oh, wait a minute, that probably is a discussion I should be having. So I'm very conflicted about it. So this would mean if I were to live stream, I would have to pick a time slot where no one in the house was using the internet. That might be very restrictive. On the other hand, the only time I would ever stream is probably on the weekend, and there would be more opportunities on the weekend for me to find a time where no one's using the internet. And the other thing is, I worked really hard to get here at Kharkov with the Deductor's mod, and I did track data. Actually, I can show that to you. Do I not have Google? This is my new laptop. Let me go. Yeah. So I have a data sheet where, is this maxed? Yeah. I have a data sheet where, I should probably close these. So I have a data sheet where I tracked kills, losses, the current XP after a scenario, and then how much prestige I invested in the unit type, and a year ID. And I have a unit ID, so that's a unique ID for every unit. And my idea was I was going to run a regression, like, how much prestige you invested and what impact did that have on my experience. But I was thinking, I've been thinking all day after Bricada. The music is way too loud. I was thinking all day about Bricada's stuff, which is really good. It's clear he's taken like a modeling class, or he's just got strong intuition with modeling. And I was thinking, that his approach, like, where was I? So I was imagining, I'll run some regression that's indexed by time and a unit. This would be a panel set. So you're going to see the evolution of your y, which is your dependent variable. This could be my idea was change in experience growth. I should define that, like YIT for unit I at time t. And t here would be scenario number, which is right here. And then this is this is like, I shouldn't index it like this. I prefer to keep it in matrix form. So beta is a vector of coefficients that explain y, right? They explain the dependent variable. And then x is a matrix of independent variables. Oh, whoops! It's a vector. It's a vector of coefficients that explain the impact of x on y. And then x is a matrix of independent variables that explain y. Okay, so x could contain kills explains, for instance, your change in XP growth. Losses could have an impact, and prestige investment has an impact, obviously. You may choose to do regular replacements. You may choose to do elite replacements in the scenario, and I was tracking that. I didn't use it too often. A couple of times on the Panzerjägers, I did elite replacements, and I tracked that. And losses obviously determine prestige investment. Sometimes the losses are small, so you don't do prestige investment. So, there could be other things. Time. I could do... what is that? You could throw in time. Like year. I have a year ID. And then unit type ID. So the unit type matters a lot, as Prakata showed in his results. So we've got this list of possible explanatory variables that explain y. Y is change. I haven't decided. Change in XP, growth in XP, or raw XP. Maybe just start with raw XP. Just take these raw inputs. You get you have a current XP amount, right? I actually did run some of those regressions. They're not very good because I'm not sure this is a good model. I should mention that, I should mention 4 units I at time t. Yeah. So this is these are matrices. The error term is dependent on time. Oh yeah, I should say that. Epsilon, error associated with unit I at time t. So these are all indexed by unit ID and my time, which would be scenario ID. So I could run this linear regression. I I did run some of these. It was weird. I got a lot of unintuitive results, but I figured out that I was running with Deductor's mod, so you were losing a ton of experience whenever you upgraded out of class. So it looks like obviously I'm spending money, but I'm losing experience. So of course I was having a negative coefficient, and it was very significant. When I thought about it afterwards, I realized Deductor's mod is kind of breaking the model. He's punishing you when you upgrade out of class. Now, historically, I think Deductor's mod makes sense. You should be punished when you're upgrading out of class. Just because you know how to use a handgun doesn't mean you know how to use a shotgun. I think that's just obvious. But if you do know how to use a handgun, you have some idea on how a shotgun works. So just because I upgrade out of class doesn't mean I necessarily lose all of my experience. So the mod is well balanced in that way. But anyway, so when I was running these regressions, just negative coefficients on the betas and highly significant, and it was like, okay, I have a problem. The other issue with this model is we have an endogeneity problem. So Y explains X. So how much I invest in a unit prestige-wise explains my covariates. It explains my kills. It explains my losses. And I'm modeling this like X explains Y. Well, we have a simultaneity problem. There's no way, like, you can't run a linear regression with a simultaneity problem and not have issues. I don't think we have a measurement error problem because I'm pretty accurate, but measurement error can crop up as well because I am tracking things by hand. This is something, somehow Percata figured out how to automate this. Not a big deal before 41, but by 42, the number of things I have to track is too much. Track is too much. Partly because, you know, at a certain point, elite replacements are going to become more frequent. I have to remember that when I over-strengthen things, I have to include that in the scenario prestige investment. I'm noticing it's getting harder and harder for me to track that. It's more and more time-consuming. That's kind of why I kind of want to abandon this, because this was a lot of work. You can see that I made all these manual entries. So I had to write down all of these numbers, and then I had to translate them or transfer them over to my Google Sheets and look at how many lines this is. Look at this. And I'm adding more and more units, right? As you can see, I'm at 45 units. I'm at 45 units by Vitebisk, and I'm constantly adding lines. I got 1,159 lines, and I'm not even halfway through the grand campaign. So realistically, we might be pushing 3,000 entries. And it's getting harder and harder to track things because there's this scenario. I'm investing prestige in units, and I have to write that down. So I'm concerned that measurement error is going to become a problem. So this is simultaneity. So I have a simultaneity problem. Simultaneity? I don't remember how to spell it. So I don't really want to build a model and then figure out what the coefficients are supposed to be to translate it back. So if I have a simultaneity problem, it would look. I think I solve it with x equals, I don't know, gamma y. Well, let's call it z plus delta. Let's say we have a delta error term, and then z consists of y and some covariates of x, and then I have to change this around. This is like L. I have another matrix. So L consists of X and some other covariates, and then something that explains y but doesn't explain x, and then z has y and a bunch of other covariates that are not x and y, and then something that explains x that doesn't explain y. And then you have to run a simultaneous equation model, and then you have to figure out how do you take those results and translate those to coefficients. And honestly, I am not interested. I am not publishing a paper on this. I don't want to do it. So I really don't want to do it. Other endogeneity issues, yes. So autocorrelation. So what happened in the past is explaining what happened in the present, or more precisely, so what happened in the past air is explaining what happened in the present air, and this means the variance will be higher and achieving significance harder, and the signs of the coefficients can be all messed up as well, and the signs of the coefficients could be wrong because of this. Because what happened in like x could also in the past could explain what happens now. So if we're looking at my past number of total kills, look, 1 second. So what happened with the past number of total kills could explain the future number of total kills. That's not totally ridiculous, or perhaps the current x, the previous XP, your previous period of XP could explain your current XP. That's actually pretty obviously true. Autocorrelation, I'm not an expert on this, so this gets into time series, and I hate time series. So this is like, there's small things you could do. Yes, I could make robust errors, but robust errors only really helps with simple autocorrelation problems and heteroscedasticity. So I would have to, you're getting into stuff like autoregressive, and then moving average, and then autoregressive moving average, integrated moving average. And here's the thing. Yeah, I studied that in grad school, didn't understand any of it. This is an ARIMA model. So, yes, my software could run stuff like this, but I would be very uncomfortable trying to explain. I don't think it's useful. This is stuff that you use in macroeconomic models, general equilibrium macroeconomic models. I don't even understand these regressions, to be honest. The textbooks I have on it are not very good. I don't think my instructors at school on time series were very good. So, like, my understanding of how to model this correctly would be terrible. So, but it is a worry when I think about it. What happened in the past is going to explain, for some of these variables, future observations. So we got a simultaneity problem, measurement error, probably some autocorrelation. There's probably some heteroscedasticity, but I could take a log, except that I have a bunch of zeros. That would be annoying. The other issue is, what's the other issue? I have a lot of zeros. This data set has lots of zeros and a significant amount of zero variation. Man, I'm just really piling up the problems. So I have a lot of like stuff clumped around 0. I mean, you can look down the data set and look at how many zeros there are. Especially in the scenario prestige investment. This is a key variable in my model, right? Well, look at how many zeros there are. Well, if this isn't changing, then why would you expect any significance? So that's a problem. And then when you combine that with, well, some of my variation doesn't change, especially when I hit max XP. You're going to see that here. I'll hit 225, and then I'm going to hit 325, and some of these units are just not going to change very much. Well, I mean, that means the variability of the data isn't very good. So finding significance can be much harder. So I'm just looking at this, and the more I think about it, the more my head hurts. So what I was thinking about was maybe I just restart the Grand Campaign. But I need to ask Bricata how in the hell he automated the stats, because that would be very helpful. Because I would just like to do the same thing, or just give him my data set. Like, he clearly already has a process. Just give him a data set so he could add it to that, because I am not convinced that those numbers, they're interesting. It's not that they're bad numbers. They're interesting numbers. I think there's a lot of truth in there. But I think if you had another player add data in, and then we could see a side-by-side table, I'm curious if the order of good to bad is the same, and I'm curious on the raw number as well. So maybe, what was it? The weighted kill to prestige investment plus unit of the unit value gives him a number between 0 and 100, and some of these units were very low. And I'm wondering, well, part of the problem, of course, is he's playing on ultimate mode. So that actually forces him to take risks. It's actually good for him that he's playing on ultimate mode, because he's going to do more combat, which is going to let units shine in a way that's useful for data tracking. So that's the other problem. If I replay the game to get that data, it's not going to be ultimate mode. So how comparable is it? I mean, ultimate mode is significantly harder than any other setting. I'm just rambling at this point because I don't think I want to keep doing this. This is a lot of work. And I'm not sure any regression I run is meaningful. I've got issues. So I'm just kind of at a loss. I could totally record playing with deductors mod, but then I run into the issue of wait a minute, when he was doing unit effectiveness, he wasn't tracking XP. Okay, so even if I play with deductors mod, what that means is when I lose experience upgrading out of class, it doesn't directly impact what he's measuring. It'll just kind of show up with fewer kills, probably, initially. So I could replay. I don't know if my audience cares, though. Do I replay in the background? I don't know if I want to replay. I mean, for science, maybe, but I mean, do I replay and I just do I live stream that? And I do it with my version of an historic core. I could talk about that. Let me explain to you what's going on with my core while I'm rambling here. I have essentially oh, actually, wait a minute. I think I put a list together. I sent myself an email. In here. This. I typed this up on a notepad. So my idea of an historic core will be the following. I have 3 divisions. One is a Luftwaffe division. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but the reality is they were a separate branch of the military. And I think they should be treated as separate from the Panzer divisions. And then I'm going to have an SE division, and then I'm going to have a regular Panzer division. And the role of the regular Panzer division is to be a support unit. So what it'll consist of is the Luftwaffe will be 19 units. Later in the war, you get I even named the heroes. You get a couple SE. I showed the upgrade path, by the way. This is my plan of upgrades for my units. So 2 BF-109Es, they become Fs, and then FW-190As, and then the rest of them stay BFs. And then I have my anti-aircraft plan. By the way, the 10-6 is a direct upgrade path. I don't need that there. The 10-6 upgrades to 7-1, which then upgrades to 7-2. And then 4 tactical bombers, one of which is Lent, and then 3 strategic bombers. This is a perfectly reasonable Air Force, and in my opinion, it's the ideal Air Force. And then SE division. So, okay, this is where things are really different. So SE divisions, I think if I get this right from Lieutenant Joker, they kind of functioned independently. They just kind of went wherever High Command told them to go. But I'm going to be a little ahistorical, which isn't really apparent until maybe 42. But I'm going to just assume I have an SE division that constantly gets assigned to my battles. And they function with a different type of corps composition. Now, I'm obviously not deploying 5 tanks, but eventually there's going to be 5 SE tanks, and it's going to look like this. This is the upgrade path for everything. There'll be 6 types of infantry, 2 SE regulars, which is the core part of the infantry group, and then later on we get Allerberger and Sutkus, and I can attach them to the SE division, and then 1 mountain. What is this? And then 1 mountain with no trucks, and then they become paratroopers, and then they become 43 paratroopers, and then 1 regular infantry becomes a cavalry. That's what I was doing with my current setup, which I haven't shown you yet. And then the artillery is weird. So they get a Wolfrahmen, an ISU-22, and a Stug, and then one of my 10.5 goes with them, and then later on, one of the 10.5s become a Brumbar, and then later one becomes a Vespa. And then the 3 anti-tank, they get the best anti-tank. So I'll buy like a green Ferdinand at Kursk, and then a Panzerjäger becomes a Stug 3, and then a Jagdpanther, and then a Panzerjäger becomes a Marder 2, which becomes a Nashorn. I thought that was perfectly reasonable, and these are interesting anti-tank units to attach to an SE division, in my opinion. And then a Scout, Panzer 1A, Panzer 2C, Panzer 2F, and then the Panzer 2 Lux. Okay. My regular division will have 1 SE tank will always be attached to it. The reason for this is I'm going to get like these inexperienced SE tanks, and given that I'm treating my regular Panzer division as a supporting division of the SE division, they're less engaged with hard combat. So you might want to nurse like green SE units, but eventually the SE ends up migrating up here. And this is the evolution. These don't really go beyond Panzer IVs. Because I think of it as a supporting division. And then infantry, here's the evolution of infantry. What's unique about the current playthrough I'm doing is I'm showing bridge engineers kicking ass. There are a lot of scenarios I didn't record that I kind of wish I had, because I show unique ways to use bridge engineers to dismantle maps. People say that there's not many maps to use bridge engineers. I think that there's enough maps to make them worth it. So I have bridge engineers with 2 heroes. They've been awesome. And then I have a Crotchetson, and I eventually will get Pine, who'll be a Grenadier, and I've got a mountain unit, Wernsberger, and then Hetzenauer is 44, and then Oladir is a Pioneer. Notice that like my infantry is weird. There's no regular infantry, even though bridge engineers kind of function like worse versions of regular infantry, because they're a supporting division, so they have specialized units to hold key choke points, or to clean up after the SE. Notice that the SE have grenadiers everywhere. And I separated out grenadiers in half tracks and grenadiers in trucks. So these are like much more aggressive infantry. And the artillery is pretty normal. And the anti-tank, this is what's a little unusual. I want to give this division the ability to pull 3 anti-tank units. So Deductor's mod allows you to upgrade a 38 Tito or Martyr and a Martyr 3, and those are really good. And then a Panzerjäger could eventually become a Yank Panzer 4, and the Martyr 3 in his mod upgrades to a Hetzer in class. But I think it'd just be interesting to kind of shuffle anti-tank weaponry out. And so I could tell you, when I was playing the Grand Campaign in 39, I deployed the anti-tank every time. And then in 1940, I only deployed 1 Panzerjäger. And then when I got to Kiev, I brought back the 5cm pack and got him involved in combat. And I'm finding that there are ways to get the pack involved in combat. It's hard, but it's not as hard as people make it out to be. So my pack actually got a hero, I believe, at Demien's Pocket. And I think he has over 300 kills. I'd have to look, but he's doing really well. So part of the reason I was doing that is I wanted to integrate different types of units. What you can see here with all these upgrades is like every infantry type I use. Every anti-tank except for the Jagdtiger, I have a plan to use. I'm going to be using the scout vehicle in his mod, probably like every version of it, and then the Panzer II, every version of the Panzer II. And every tank version except for the Mouse, I plan on using. You can see the evolution I plan on using. In every artillery piece except for the 21cm and railguns, I was planning on using. So no one really has explored all of these unit types as much. Deductor himself didn't really look at anti-aircraft that much. He mostly used 88s. The other thing is, I think that there's things I could do with the tactical bombers. His mod makes a lot of interesting bomber changes. So by 43, I could upgrade within the tactical bomber group to different types of tactical bombers. I never see anyone play with them, so I think that might be worth it. I'm just kind of rambling about what to do. You can see I have like every type of artillery. I have an upgrade plan for every type of artillery. So getting back, so let's take a look at the paratroopers. Look at this, 769 kills, 22 losses. I can't complain. Wernsberger, almost 300 kills. Ola Deer, 692. You'll notice his kill count's really low. That's because I'm not deploying him that much. My bridge engineers, 558 kills with 2 heroes. Cavalry, 743. Crotchetson, 725. Look at these guys. 790 on one of my SE. 895 on the other SE. This attack +1 is insane. Okay. This is a Panzer 1 that became a Panzer 3, 631 kills. And he has a second hero. Oh my god. This guy has 2 initiative +1s, which in Deductor's mod, like, that's nice. Take a look. This is Kesha, 776. You can see I'm pulling back hero unit usage so I can play with other units. This is Rondorf, 234. And this is an SE tank with 2 heroes already. And I just got this SE tank at Kharkov. And then this one, I got him at Crete. He just hit 3 stars. And he has 360 kills. My scout car, 476. The Panzer II, 487. Look at how many kills I'm getting on my scout cars. The The 38T is 580, and the Martyr 3 is available. Watch this. For only 38 prestige, I can upgrade the 38T to a Martyr 3, and the experience is preserved in the hero. 580 kills on an anti-tank. And the Martyr 3, I can vouch for the fact I was playtesting the scenario with it. The Martyr 3 is really strong. You just have to make sure you're dealing with a suppress unit. And then this bad boy, the Martyr 3 is not a joke. He's... and there's artillery. I don't have to go over artillery. I don't really have any interesting heroes except for this one. I just got this. Range +1. Notice that I have a couple Stugs, a Wolfram, and Rocket, and one 15 centimeter. Like you can see, I'm not really going crazy on artillery. My 88s, 400 kills on that 88, and 429 on that one. Yeah. These guys are doing fine. 99 kills, 219. Where are my... Panzerjägers. Look at my pack. 275 kills. And he got a defense +3 hero, which is insane. 246 on this Panzerjäger. 231. So you can see I'm distributing kills all over the place. Oh, I have a Martyr 2. 203. So all of my anti-tanks are getting lots of action. And this is the only one that doesn't have a hero. And when did I get him? Sedan. I think this was the last anti-tank I got. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at my tactical bombers. 814 kills, initiative +1. How about this guy? 762 kills, defense +2, initiative +1. I'm thinking about. I don't think there's an upgrade for them. But there's other types of tactical bombers in Deductor's mod that I think with an initiative hero, they're much more effective. So I could, in theory, upgrade these tactical bombers with initiative and defense heroes to something like that. And the reality is, Rudel is the only safe unit you can use as a tactical bomber. Helmet length, 752 kills. My Junker, 293 and got an attack +1. Heinkel, 215, and 115 for the Donier. So that's my core. Oh my god, that's right. I got attack +3 and attack +1 on my 15. 646 kills. This thing is a beast. I already got a hero on my Wolfram. He has 192 kills. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of infantry. And I only have 8 infantry. I'm very light on the infantry. And even tank-wise, like, I should sell this. Yeah. Even tank-wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 6 tanks. So I'm not very heavy on the tanks. And effectively, these guys function as an SE division, and then these guys function as my Panzer division. So I have a Panzer 3 and 2 Panzer 4s. And notice that I'm 1 upgrade behind this guy who should be upgraded. So my philosophy was going to be I'll upgrade the SE Panzers to the latest model, which is perfectly fine and probably historically accurate. And then the regular Panzer divisions will be 1 model behind them. So it's really like in 1942 it poses some problems, but I have these Panzer 3s. So I have this Panzer 3, which is 1 model number behind this one. What this does, by the way, is forces you to use anti-tank a lot more because they have higher heart attack. Like if I look at this. Heart attack is 7, right? Let's take a look at my anti-tank. 11. This has 11 heart attack. Oh my god, I forgot to upgrade it. There we go. Whoops. So this now has 16 heart attack. This has 10 heart attack. This has 13 heart attack. Wow, why is the Martyr 3 so much more effective? You know why? Because its ground defense is too higher. Okay. So my Panzer 3J has 9 heart attack. And these guys have 7. And this model has 15. Look at the difference. These guys have 7. Whoa, that's crazy. Is that true? So, yeah, there you have it. The heart attack doubles. So I have really weak tanks. And this guy has 15 heart attack because it's SE. So by holding back that upgrade, I have some problems. And this guy is at 9, and it could be 12. Even my Panzer 3s are not doing as well as the Martyrs. Really interesting. So it's really cool because I end up having to play with all these different units. I also have recon move on the Crotchetson and the cavalry, so I can really use them effectively. I think one of these... I got spotting on the cavalry. That was nice. So I don't know if people want me... You know, is this a waste of my time? Should I just do this on my own time and not show videos on it anymore? You know, I was showing videos on Deductor's Mod at Double Rommel, and then I realized, like, this is really suicidal. And then I was trying to do Grand Campaign West, Double Rommel, that failed, so then I went to Rommel, but it was pretty clear that his mod is not balanced for Grand Campaign West. It was kind of insane how much I was struggling to get marginal victories. Like, I think it was so much of a struggle, it suggests that the mod was broken. And Deductor never showed videos with Grand Campaign West. That strongly suggests to me he's never tried it, or he did and he didn't want to fix the problems. So I like his mod a lot, but it's kind of rough because there's some issues with the experience hits. And there's some issues with the soft cap. But I don't want to change the soft cap because that might break the game in other ways. So I don't know. Does my audience, you know, do you guys want me to show videos with Deductor's Mod at my present difficulty, which is Field Marshal and Rommel? Do you want me to try to do... do you want me to try running the Grand Campaign again and trying to collect data the way Ricotta did and send it to him? Do you guys want to see me try to live stream playing with Deductor's Mod? Do you not care? What do you think of my core composition? So there's a lot of open-ended questions I'm asking you guys about. I think Ricotta's approach is going to be more useful for a practical player. It's kind of more to the point. He makes sure that the bounds on his results are going to be intuitive. And I can't think of an issue with it except for the fact that because his playstyle is unique, it might skew the numbers. In my playstyle, I'm gonna say something very strange here. My playstyle is very Napoleon-esque. So if there's a book, if you're really interested in Napoleon, and I think if you play this game, you should be, because the Germans very clearly borrowed a lot of ideas from Napoleon. There's a book by Chandler written in 1961 called The Battles of Napoleon, I think. Actually, that may not be what it's called. I'd have to look it up. It's by Chandler in 1961. And he covers every battle Napoleon fought in with light coverage of the Spanish Peninsula Wars. And he covers everything. He covers grand strategic tactics, grand strategic concepts, communication lines, local tactical concepts, Napoleon's evolution as a military commander, where he learned things, the mistakes he made, and he goes over this for every battle that he fought in. It's very, very well written. The only problem is the maps are not clear, so sometimes the exposition can be hard to follow because you can't see the maps that well. However, outside of that, it's one of the clearest. I'm reading this book and I'm like, this is just what the Weimar was doing, right? This is what Operation Bagration was. It's so clear. I'm sitting there reading this and I'm like, oh, I mean, this is just what Piccata is doing when he's playing Panzer Corps. And there's certain realistic elements that are out of the game, but conceptually it's so similar. It was just striking that there's these concepts from Napoleon. So when I say I play Napoleon-esque, I should clarify that. So Napoleon, as it turns out, he didn't invent anything. There's one thing, he invented one tactical troop formation in Egypt. So over his entire military career, Napoleon invented nothing. He just took, he was a great reader, and he read all the great generals, Frederick the Great, of course, being one of them, but Alexander the Great and other generals. He studied tons of military documents. He read tons of history books. And when he was doing training in military school, he was already starting to think about grand strategic tactics that will later on be called Napoleon plans. And he got to implement them in practice in Italy, in the first wars of Italy. And he goes into great detail describing all the important actions. And you start to realize, like, back before he was emperor, he was already developing a very sophisticated plan of action that was taking great ideas from previous generals and applying them into battles to make, like, a perfect setup. And so when I play Panzer Corps, I'm very Napoleon in the sense that I take things from other players and incorporate it into my play, and I want to showcase it. But I don't know if I'm good at explaining it while I'm doing it, because it's a lot harder to record and talk at the same time. If you don't believe me, you should try it yourself. But I was just reading this book, and I was like, I think every Panzer Corps player should read this book, because he uses tactical techniques that at the highest level Panzer Corps players do on a regular basis. I mean, Panzer Corps players don't even realize we're using a Napoleon-esque method to solve a map. I also think it's very interesting that from a military strategic perspective, I think about military issues the same way Napoleon does. And I think that's really interesting because I don't have a military background. But if I was imagining myself as a general, I thought it was really interesting what he was focused on. So he was super focused on protecting his rear and making sure his line of communications were open. And that would, to me, as a general, that would be super important. But I think it was important at the time, but he used sophisticated strategic concepts to cut off the enemy communication lines anyway, because the enemy underestimated the speed that French divisions could move, and then the enemy underestimated intelligence reports. Napoleon was really good at causing confusion for the enemy. He thought like half the battle was intelligence. This is kind of a weird thing to say. I just don't understand how the Germans could study Napoleon and miss this important aspect of his strategic planning. Napoleon did not like making a move against an enemy where he didn't know everything. And I play Panzer Corps in a very similar way. This is why I have so many scouting units. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I've got 5 scouting units, and I'm constantly deploying these units, and I like fanning them out because I want to know what's going on. And obviously in Panzer we could do more sophisticated things like send planes on a rainy turn into the back to spy what's happening there. And I don't know what player, it might have been Deductor. I think it would probably be fair to say Deductor may have came up with this tactic. He definitely used this tactic in his videos. But Soren uses this tactic all the time. When I can remember, I try to use this tactic. And I think you see players like Bricata and Goose doing the same thing. You don't realize you're actually kind of pulling a Napoleon-esque type move where you're finding out information from the opponent where they can't do anything about it. And this was something he was pretty good at doing. So yeah, I just so I have my new gaming laptop. So I hope the screen looks better and the game doesn't crash. And I just don't know what to do with my channel. The other thing I'm considering is I could live stream me playing chess. I'm considering playing The Witcher 3 with a lot of mods that would make the game super freaking hard, because I can beat The Witcher 3 at Death March difficulty with no problem, like zero problem. And there's a mod out there called Ghost Mode, and I think it would make it very challenging for me. And then I could show you how to play the game at the highest level. And for those of you who don't know, the Witcher TV series is coming out next Friday, so that could be something. I could make a series. I have a gaming laptop. I think there's basically nothing I could... I think I can play every game. I think I could play The Witcher 3 at ultra settings, and it probably won't be a problem. But I don't know what my audience is interested in, so I didn't want to, I guess it's a complicated dynamic relationship. Do I make videos that my audience wants to see, or do I make videos I want to make? And I also, if I diversify the videos, it means I can't concentrate as much on one thing. I'm a person that does better when I'm concentrating on one thing. But I also kind of realize I'm posting a lot of Panzer Corps videos, and at a certain point that gets mentally draining. So this is why Bricata plays other types of strategy games. It's why Goose he's trying to show you that video game that he really likes. So maybe I should just focus on what I want to show. I could do Witcher. The only problem is I'm having trouble getting Ghost Mode to work. I'm not believe it or not, I am not a computer science guy. So my knowledge of coding is negative knowledge. So getting I have a script merger, and I have a mod merger. And I've been watching videos on how in the hell you merge these mods. You might think this is super simple. And probably for computer science people, this is like breathing oxygen. But I'm not finding it super simple, and every time I make progress, an error pops up. So, I might be spending all weekend trying to figure out how to get these mods working. I think it would be cool to do Ghost Mode with Witcher 3. I think there's only one playthrough on YouTube with it, but I would be adding some other mods to make it even more challenging. So it would be a very different video series from what I've been posting before, and I have no idea if anyone would give a shit. So, but I could just do it anyway because I want to do it. So that's something I'm thinking about. Enough with the rambling. Let me know what you think about my core. Let me know what you think about abandoning my current data projects. Let me know what you think about maybe restarting the Grand Campaign with or without Detector's mod and record it, and maybe we just don't compare ourselves to Bricata. What do you... I think people probably still want me to do Ultimate Mode. Do you want me to do it streaming or just continue recording? If I do it streaming, you're going to see a lot of screw-ups, that's for sure. Do you want me to post some Chess Blitz videos? I could do that. I could live stream that. The only reason I might want to live stream is it means more interactivity. So anyway, I have nothing more to say. Until next time, Richard out.